Hey everybody, what's going on? How you doing? I am the real Geno Reynolds, and today I am here with Rob from Smirking Gun Reviews. And what we're going to talk about today is a dream. Is our wildest imaginations running wild. This is the top 5 things that we really want from the MCU. It can be stuff that's not even really plausible, but we can dream, can't we?
Yep.
So we're going to count down from 5 to 1. Each of us got 5 dreams that we want. And we're going to have a little bit of fun with this. So Rob, why don't you go ahead and start us off with your number 5.
Can I do like a quick honorable mention?
Sure.
All right, since this is
I can probably throw one in there as well. So
then, if we're talking about dreams, I have a dream because for I don't know how long I've been running around doing this all the time, and nobody knows why. And it's because I'm popping imaginary claws, and it's because I want them to cast me as Logan. Okay, I'm sorry. I like Hugh Jackman. I think there's a lot of people that can do it, but I feel like I have got Wolverine's soul inside of me. There's a berserker inside this small frame. I've got the right height. I can grow hair like crazy, and I can go into a rage, and I know how to handle. I've imagined 9-inch claws popped out of my hand for years, and I want it. I want it, even if it's just a joke, man. I don't care. Put me on the cover. This guy thinks he's Wolverine. I don't care. Do it. Make it happen. It's like just a joke magazine cover. Like even in an issue, like they said, some guy pretending to be you. It's just me on the cover. I don't care. That's my honorable mention.
my honorable mention, and I won't go into too much detail because boy, there could be a lot of stories there. Since Endgame introduced time travel, Kang would have made. I think they might go there because they've introduced time travel. But I've always liked the character of Kang. I liked what they've done in some of the cartoons with him. I think he would make an interesting villain. Do I think they're going to do it? No, because they've done the time travel thing. Now they're talking multiverses. So if they were going to stick with time travel, I would look forward to Kang. All right.
That's a good one.
So your number 5 thing, what would you want from the MCU?
John Krasinski and Emily Blunt as Reed Richards and Sue Richards, respectively. I think that they, as a real-life couple, work really well together, as we've seen in movies like A Quiet Place. They seem to actually genuinely like each other. And while I think John...
Well, I would hope so.
I think, yeah, I know, but, there's plenty of marriages out there that are for the cameras and stuff over the years. But while I've loved him as Jim, and he's an alright Jack Ryan, I want to see him play smart, like really smart. He's got the build, and I don't think they've ever actually captured Reed Richards as just a guy, and having him struggle with his smarts and his family. And I think John can actually pull that off brilliantly. And Emily Blunt is just one of the best actresses out there, and with the rapport that they already have built up, you already believe them as a family. And then all you'd have to do is find the offshoots to be the people that would be Johnny and Ben. Those would be actually one of the harder parts. And I feel like if you try to overthink those two characters, you're going to end up with two people that don't mix well. And while it's just a fantasy, a dream, and they probably, that would mean commitments, but it's also, hey, you're married. It means you won't have to be away from each other for very long. You know what I mean? Like when you're filming Fantastic Four, or you're filming some joint movie with a bunch of other characters, they'd be able to take their kids and their family with them. They wouldn't have to worry about uprooting them all the time.
I don't have that on my list, but it is something I really want.
Yeah.
They've talked to John Krasinski about it. He seemed up for it. So
I mean, who doesn't want to be the stretchy guy?
And I've seen the Photoshop versions of them, and,
and
they look fantastic. I believe it was Boss Logic who does a lot of fantasy comic book casting. Like whenever they say someone is interested in doing this, he will make a Photoshop of it, and they're pretty fantastic. No pun intended. My number 5, and this one will never happen, but man, do I want it so bad. I want a Rocket, Cosmo, and Howard the Duck movie.
Oh, shit.
Okay, and you could even have Groot in there.
Sure.
And in a perfect world, you'd have Spider-Ham as well. Mm. And I want a space movie. I want it in space. I want Rocket flying the ship, taking them on some adventure, right? Because you got Cosmo, you got Howard's in space somewhere. I want it so bad. I know they're all CG. I don't care. I want it. I want it so bad. I love Rocket. I want more of Rocket.
Yeah.
Now we know, of course, who's voicing Rocket and Howard, and of course Groot. And if you use Spider-Ham, I'd get the guy that did him in the Spider-Verse. But for Cosmo, okay, if he were still alive, I would want Anton Yelchin from Star Trek.
Yeah.
But he's not with us anymore. If you were going to go authentic, I would say like Michael Gore. That would be a great pick, I think. But if these probably wouldn't happen. One of them maybe. Viggo Mortensen. I'm looking for people that could do an authentic Russian accent for Cosmo.
Yeah.
Because you got like Eastern Promises, Viggo Mortensen, Gary Oldman can do it. Which that's the one. If they were gonna get anybody, I think that's the one they could get.
Hell yeah, they could.
And this one, I don't remember the name of the movie. The movie wasn't very good, but Tom Hardy has done a Russian accent. I don't remember the name of the movie. It wasn't a great movie, but he was really good in it. It was like something 41 or something like that. It was he was investigating like a murder. But I would love to see Tom Hardy do it. But honestly, I would go with like Gary Oldman or Michael Gore, I think. But that's what I want: a Rocket, Cosmo, and Howard.
I think that would be a great animated movie. I think it would be a great way to establish the MCU's animated section. Well, I feel it's way underutilized.
I know it probably would be animated, but man, I want it in their live action.
Well, I mean, like all CG.
Oh, well,
like,
see,
they go like so
I'm saying
weird with it.
That would be cool.
Like you could bring in the Impossible Man.
Yeah.
And make it really bizarre.
I just don't know. I would be cool with it being all animated, all CG animated, but I want it to fit in the live action movie.
Sure.
I want live action characters to interact with them because I want to see Howard the Duck interacting with live action people. That being said, I would be accepting of anything I could get as long as I'm getting that movie. That's my number 5. What's your number 4?
Namor and Black Panther. I teased the underwater thing, the earthquake, and Namor is a difficult character. In any book you read, he is a asshole. And he's a king, and so is T'Challa. Mm-hmm. And having them be the first people to meet Namor, this guy who they're trying to like rebuild, and now they have to get in with this guy who basically wants to take over the surface world. I think the political part of it would be really great. You could have the Wakandans going to Namor's world, Namor trying to get up to our world. I think the two butting heads would be a great match for each other. Like you've said in other things about Doctor Doom. I agree at that, but it's just I want them to introduce Namor before they get to the Fantastic Four.
That's a good idea.
Because he doesn't have to be in the Fantastic Four. Because he was introduced in that book. I think that he's one of those characters you can, and you want him to be maybe eventually in the Illuminati. Once we get Xavier, we already have Doctor Strange, we got Black Panther. We just need like the rest of them to come together, because then once you get the rest of them all together, you can have World War Hulk, and have stories like that. Things that all the consequences of like these guys making choices, and the only way to get there is to get Namor in there. And I just think that I don't want to see a Black Panther story I've already seen, which was one of my biggest problems with Black Panther 1 was I already knew this story.
Right.
And I want them to do something different with T'Challa. And you could even bring in, like, somehow have Claw, like, brought back as the actual Sonic version of himself, and get Andy Serkis to mocap that somehow. But I want them to bring in Namor, because even though he's a difficult character, he's fascinating. Yeah. He's way more fascinating than Aquaman. Aquaman is a fun character from the movies, but the comic book character, he's not that fun. He's really rather boring to me. And Namor, he's just all business and all like trying to save the oceans, trying to save his people. Same as Aquaman, but I don't take him this seriously. And Namor's a real threat, and he's got a past. And you could even bring up stuff with Captain America and things like that, where with the invaders, where him and Bucky and them were all working together. But it's the only way that I can see them bringing him in. It's the most logical choice. And even though it's a fantasy, a dream, I also feel like it's something that's definitely on the table, more than just like me wishing it would happen.
My number 4 very ever so slightly plays into that because there's a couple characters I have here. I want Keanu Reeves in the MCU. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to bring him in, but dang it, do I want him in there. Namor would be one I would consider. I would love to see that. Another one that I think I really want, though, is him to play Adam Warlock. We got it teased in Guardians. He's there. Are they ever going to pull the trigger?
It would be really interesting a look for like how they would make Keanu look like Adam Warlock would be really crazy.
I see like a half CG, half real life kind of thing.
Like glowy, like very
like hair that looks like it's waving all the time. And but dang it, I want Keanu Reeves in the MCU, especially with him doing John Wick. His star's even more on the rise than ever. Get him in the MCU. I want him in the MCU. That's my number 4. What's your number 3?
Well, it's almost along the same lines because it's Moon Knight. I want Moon Knight. Moon Knight is one of the best books that I can't believe I took so long to get to. And because I want Moon Knight and what the big story is, what is Keanu Reeves going to do? I want Keanu Reeves as Moon Knight. Because, again, he's good with physicality, but Moon Knight has like all these different characters inside his head. I think they would make... and Keanu would want to play somebody with complexity, and it takes away from that old stereotype that he's just the kind of guy. And even though we see him as John Wick now, I also just remember those days of just not caring about Keanu Reeves all the way through the Matrix, going, he's your savior. But now that he's established himself again as a really hardcore action star, a complex character that can make you believe in things about him that I would normally not believe in, I definitely could see him being the Marvel Universe's Batman. A tough guy with like a complex story with a wife and a daughter and all these weirdos that go after him that are different from any MCU villains that have a lot of like mental instabilities. Be a way to talk about mental illness in the MCU, not making it just a joke because his struggle is real, and he's got all these different people that come out at different times when he's needed. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I know that Moon Knight is a very difficult character to translate on screen, but I think with the right director and Keanu, like if he was on board with doing it, I think it'd be beautiful, and it wouldn't have to be. Like I said, it would be better probably as a show, but then you wouldn't get Keanu as a show. And there was talk about it being a show for a while, but then Netflix lost all the rights to everything. Of course. And so if Disney did a streaming service, we might not get Keanu. But if they do decide to go with a Moon Knight show on the streaming service, I'm fine with as long as if they don't get Keanu, fine. But we need Moon Knight because I just feel like we don't get enough stories about complex mental issues.
My number 3 is never going to happen because they've already used bits and pieces of it, and they couldn't put it together the way they would want to, I don't think. I would like to see Secret Wars. And I'll let you go more into it.
No, but what's Secret Wars?
I've only read the first one. I know they went back and started doing things over again, Civil War and Secret Wars and all that stuff. I haven't read comics when they were doing that. But, could they bring in the symbiote in there? Could they do certain things? I don't know, but all I know is I want to see it. It's hard to explain why.
You get the Beyonder, you get Battle World. It's basically a battle royale up in space.
Yeah.
And the Beyonder's kind of reality. He doesn't just take them or just in space. They're in a whole other pocket universe basically that this guy made, and he makes them fight it out. And it's an amazing story. Whether it could be a movie, it would have to just be a complete fun.
I would love to see it be. I'd love to see it be a phase. Do different parts of it.
Yeah, to build up to it. Sure.
To do a few different movies that they're all in the different characters are in these different parts, and then in the end it all comes together. But I don't think it's ever going to happen, unfortunately.
No. And I will see what are we at? Number 2 for
this will be your number 2.
Is Secret Wars, but not your Secret Wars.
Okay.
and again, it's something that would take time. Now there's 2 of them, but I picked Secret Wars over Secret Invasion because I actually think Secret Invasion is really on the table.
Yeah.
But Secret Wars is probably not going to be doable, but it does deal with what a lot of people like is the multiverse. Now the multiverses in the newest story that they did is all the multiverses are collapsing in on each other, and they're basically fighting it out. And 616 is trying to build a safe spot for them to survive it all, and then it all goes wrong and becomes this huge world where they take storylines from all over comics, whether it's Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, I knew they were doing that. I wasn't sure what they were doing.
And then they bring in eventually, Doom rules all, and Ben Grimm is like this huge he's like a mountain, and Galactus is Doom's bitch. And Susan Storm is his wife, and they all think Reed is dead. Instead, they don't know that Reed and like Spider-Man, Black Panther, but then villains like Thanos survived, and they're just haven't been discovered yet. And how they come and they just ruin everything. But also you get all these crazy versions of all the different worlds basically on a planet, where they pick the cream of the crop of storylines, and you didn't have to read them all to enjoy the main storyline. But then that's also how we got Miles Morales in the 616. Okay. And while I haven't always been the biggest Miles Morales fan, I'm finally starting to warm up with him with about 17,000 views of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I'm finally good with it. I'm finally like the character, and I like the idea of different Spider-Men. Because I just was too hard-nosed on Peter Parker's my Spider-Man, I don't need another one. But I also was reading the Clone Saga, back in the 90s, and I was able to accept Ben Reilly, so I can accept Miles Morales. But Secret Wars is just so big that I don't know how they could ever do it. And
it would have to take up an entire phase.
Yeah.
At least a phase.
At least. And so it's not going to happen. I need to give up the ghost on that one.
My number 2 is kind of a twofer because they kind of go together. I want to see Marvel introduce the Marvel Knights series. I don't want them to go as far as Max because I want the Punisher back.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see the Punisher, and you could even add characters like Ghost Rider, Moon Knight. I think Daredevil's going to make... Well, Daredevil's probably going to make the regular MCU. I have a feeling the next Spider-Man movie is when we're getting Daredevil, because he's probably going to be Peter Parker's lawyer. That's going to be my guess.
That would be awesome.
But I want the Punisher back.
I do too.
I want John Bernthal. I would be okay with Tom Jane as well. Yeah. I want either of them. We've had. Ray Stevenson did fine, but he was already Olstag. Yeah. So he's kind of taken. Dolph Lundgren's available, I'm sure. Hey, I like that movie. I don't care what anybody says.
No. I'm just thinking I can't get past Rocky IV. Okay.
But yes, I would prefer John Bernthal because he is quote unquote the established Punisher in this universe. So I want to see the Punisher, but does he fit into the regular MCU? No. Will they dumb him down to PG-13? Well, if you were able to do it like Civil War did in the comics, you could make it work. You could. But do I want that? No. That's why I want a Marvel Knights. No. So you can have these edgier, darker characters. I honestly, that's where I would want to see Blade. Yeah. I'm fine with a PG-13 Blade. I really am.
Because he's killing vampires, not people. So it's kind of like just dust.
And I love the casting. Mahershala Ali as Blade is good casting. I like it. Perfect. But if we're gonna go there, put him in the Marvel Knights. Let him work with the Punisher, things like that. So I want the Punisher back. So in extension, I kind of need Marvel Knights to be involved with it. Okay, what's your number 1?
The number 1 is the thing that we were kind of dancing around before, and that's because it's the one thing that's got me most concerned for some damn reason, is the Thor Love and Thunder story. I don't care. Look, it just seemed to me that Natalie Portman was out and didn't want to come back.
Well, I believe they had to use old footage of her for Endgame.
Yeah, it felt like that, didn't it?
They did.
It just really was like, man, if I was her, I'd be like, how much are you paying me to use that old footage? And I didn't dislike Natalie Portman. She just didn't seem interested in it. She just felt okay, I'm just here for the paycheck. And even when she's standing there holding Mjolnir, I was like, oh God, she looks like she doesn't. I don't care that it's too big for her. She just doesn't look like she doesn't want to be there. She's like, thank God I'm getting that money. That smile on her face. So if that's not, I just want them to tell a good female Thor story. And for Jane, and I was thinking, what's the story that Natalie Portman would get behind? That that actresses would like to play. And that's the reluctant hero that has to be a hero to save her life. And that is the Jane Foster cancer story where she has to become Thor to save her life. And how it's not about just taking Thor's name and all this crap that everybody wants to talk about or just demand. Because right now everybody that's talking about this issue and saying, well, why can't she have a different name other than Thor? Have you been to a comic book shop? There's a book called Jane Foster Valkyrie, #1. It just came out a month ago, and everybody that supposedly reads comics has had amnesia about this. She's on the cover. She's put in all the promos and books that you may not read Jane Foster Valkyrie, but I'm telling you, the books you do read, I bet you she's in there as an ad. So all the fact that nobody remembers this. So first off, she's probably going to be called Valkyrie because all the Valkyries are dead in the MCU except for Tessa Thompson, but there's supposed to be an army of them. But they're going to still make her a female Thor. It's just going to happen that way. Yeah. It's a great design. She looks great. The Alex Ross final cover that they did, she looks beautiful. I think they need to have her transform so that Natalie Portman doesn't have to be. When she changes into Thor, she becomes this big, powerful person. When she changes back, she's small and like Natalie Portman is. So if you do the cancer story where she has to do it to save her life and then she becomes addicted to it. And then eventually when she stops being Thor and she tries to do chemo, whenever she uses the power, it erases the chemo and it's actually killing her now. And the Love and Thunder, he has to choose between the two. Like that title is kind of misleading, I think. I think maybe when people put the word love in it, they think, oh, this is going to be too girly and stupid and all that. And it can mean something so much more. Plus, it's from Taika Waititi, so it's not going to be just some straightforward thing.
Yeah.
And so they basically, all the heroes have to force her to stop. But she has to do it one last time to save everyone, even though it kills her. And I think if Natalie Portman really wants out, that's the way to do it.
She'd go out with instead of just being written out, she's going out doing something
and people
amazing.
Would change their opinion of the way she was in the other movies. And if you knew it was building towards that, you'd look at the Thor movies in a different way. It wouldn't make Thor 2 much better, but it would still be the story that I think that they can do it. And it is a story you can do with like montages and stuff where it shows her just fighting things and how when it's working out, and then start showing the downside of all that.
Yeah. All right, my #1 in a way is going to happen. Doctor Doom. Yeah, I want Doctor Doom so bad. He's one of my favorite villains. I want him so bad, but I have a casting for it. I want Michael Fassbender to play Doctor Doom. Yeah, I know, he's Magneto. No, he's not. They're done. I don't want him to play Magneto. Again, I liked his Magneto. He was underused in some of those movies.
But he was never bad.
But let's just give him something new. And I think he would be great because I want to see, he's a good enough actor that he can work behind that mask.
Oh, yeah.
And also, as a little side note, if they do the Vain Doctor Doom where he just has a tiny little scar on his face and that's why he covers his face up, Michael Fassbender has a little scar right there on his lip. It's perfect.
It really is.
They could just show him messing with that scar. I can't stand it. I need to cover it with that.
It's a psychological thing more than anything else.
And I just think that like an actor like Carl Urban who was able to cover up most of his face for Dredd and pull it off beautifully. I think Michael Fassbender, you could put him behind that mask for 99% of a movie and he's going to nail it.
And we hide people behind CGI motion capture all the time and they pull it off. So what's the mask, when you know who's behind it, and you know the acting behind it.
He can have he can have the intensity in his eyes.
Oh yeah.
That if that's all you can see of him is his eyes, he can pull this off. So that is like the one big thing that I want.
And by
that
playing,
honestly could happen.
Yeah, and by playing Magneto, he's proven that he can be a guy who can believe in the ends justify his means and stuff. The guy who believes wholeheartedly in what he is doing is the right thing.
Mhm.
Because Magneto felt the same way the whole time, just differently, about a different group of people. So you can't say it's the same thing. Because Magneto, while he would have loved to create a utopia for himself, Dr. Doom has Latveria.
Yeah.
He has his world, and he just wants to spread it.
Well, and that's just it. He treats his people well
Yeah.
in Latveria.
And it's very much...
Even though he does some really bad things to keep that peace,
Yeah.
Whenever things are fine, things are fine.
Yeah.
Even though he's just pretty bad and he shouldn't be in power.
And he controls
Deep
things
down,
like a dictator.
right,
He
deep
keeps the
down.
information out.
Deep down, he, in his own way, cares for his people.
Yep.
But, of course, he's a little power hungry, too.
It's a skosh.
So, that's what I want from the MCU. Let us know in the comments what you guys want in the MCU. I don't care how wild it is. If it's never going to happen, that's what this is about.
Age of Apocalypse.
Wow, that would be insane. But let us know down in the comments below what you guys would want to see in the MCU, whether it could happen or not. So that's our top 5 things of what we want from Marvel Studios. Rob, let them know where they can find you on YouTube.
You can find me at Smirking Gun Reviews. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter at YESSHH8. That is Yish8. You can message me there, follow me there. I'm always putting stuff up usually. And for YouTube, if you leave a comment, 99.9% of the time, I'm going to get back to you very quickly.
Thank you so much for joining us for this video. Until next time, Excelsior.
Peace.